I read every single hot and sexy, spicy, smutty scene. Hello everyone, how's it going? So in today's video, I will be doing my first reading challenge of the sorts. I will be reading 200 pages a day for a week and see if, what will happen after this. Will I be traumatized and never pick up a book again? Or will I just have a midlife crisis at reading these books? Because you know why? One, I'm a huge mood reader, okay? If I don't feel something, even if it's a really good book or a book that I've been really wanting to read, if I'm not really feeling it at that moment, it's not being read, folks. But in today's video, this video purpose, I am forcing myself, challenging myself, to be reading 200 pages. Of what genre, you might ask? It's going to be adult fantasy romance. Not just any adult fantasy romance, because one of these books, right here, Fourth Wing. I don't really know what I'm getting myself into. And, that sort of brings me to my other reason for this possible midlife crisis because of a Fourth Wing here. This book has been beloved by so many people. Pretty much everyone on Goodreads, YouTube, and Book Talk has read this book, either loved it or really hated it. I have no idea which category I'll fall into because I feel like this is the most hyped book I've ever seen, even more than Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo, even more than From Blood and Ash, even more than most, if not all, of the adult fantasy romance books that I have read from the recommendations that is Book Talk. Book Talk has just been loving the daylights out of this one. I have sort of set my expectations, just below. Because when it comes to Book Talk recommendations in general, especially in this genre, it has been, 2 out of 3 strikes for me at the moment. The absolute worst book that I have ever read coming from a Book Talk recommendation is, oh my god, I don't even remember what the book is called. It's a book by Lucy Score. Oh my god, The Things We Never Got Over. That has tarnished everything about love for me in my mind. Like, that book makes me angry, even thinking about it. It's pure trash, legitimately the worst book I have ever read in my entire life. It wasn't even a fun or light form of escapism. After completing that book, it truly made me believe that I was the smartest person alive on Earth, because it was just that dumb. It was worse than a soap opera. What I'm hoping that this challenge will do for me is to break out of that bad habit of just starting books and never finishing them. Speaking of getting rid of your bad habits, I would like to thank today's video sponsor, Fume. Fume, that's F-U-M, is an innovative and award-winning device whose mission, essentially, is to accelerate humanity's breakup with bad and destructive habits. This simple and elegant design comes with an adjustable airflow dial, basically designed with movable parts and magnets in order to help with fidgeting, which is super helpful in de-stressing and anxiety while also breaking your bad habit. So the device itself is completely electronic free, and instead of vapor, Fume uses flavored air. And how all that comes into play is with these core flavors, essentially known as cores. So Fume was cool enough to send over 6 different core packet flavors. I went with sparkling grapefruit. All you gotta do in 3 necessary simple steps. First, detach, insert your core, attach, and voila, inhale and you got your first bad boy of breaking habits. Did not think sparkling grapefruit would be a thing, but it actually tastes pretty good. It's giving herbal tea. They have over 150,000 customers, and switching over to Fume is pretty easy, simple, and enjoyable. You can head over to tryfume.com, that is TRIFUM.com, with my code Elias. You save an additional 10% off on your order. Again, everything will be linked down below, and thank you once again to Fume for sponsoring today's video. So for this video's challenge, I'll be reading, one of them at least, Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros. So if you didn't know what this book is about, it essentially follows a young girl who has to attend military training school in order to access and form a link with these dragons. And once you form a link with said dragon, it gives you some sort of ability and power, but that's pretty much all I know about it. Apparently people really love dragons. I absolutely have no idea what this will entail. If it'll have dragon sex, dragon innuendo, dragon jokes, possibly. What I am hoping though is that it'll give me How to Train Your Dragon vibes. When I was shopping at Target the other day, I don't know what it is about Target. You go in there having one thing in mind, only to come out of that store with like 10 different items. But I also don't know what took hold of me that day, because I saw this on the shelf and I don't know, trick of the light you might say. This cover blinded me for a hot second when I stared at it, and I was like, you know what? You're kind of pretty. You're coming home with me. This cover and I, we made good heavy eye contact for a good hot second. That's my expectation about this book going in. So the other book that I'll be picking up for this challenge, I wanted some sort of counterbalance. If the book that I was reading, Fourth Wing, was pretty shit and pretty bad and pretty terrible, I wanted sort of to balance out the scales. So I'm hoping hopefully, that this gay political romance will, counter all of that negativity, if you will. So this one is A Taste of Golden Iron by Alexandra Rowland, and this is brought to you by Tor Publishing, who I believe to be the A24 of the book publishing industry in general, because a lot of the books that they produce, they're just very niche, very weird. A lot of their horror and thriller books are just very interesting. I feel like a lot of the books that they publish, they're just very unique and very special. So this one, I have no idea what it's about, aside from the fact that the cover is just stunning, and it's about a prince who falls in love with his bodyguard. That's pretty much all I need to fucking know. I am hoping, at the very least, to get 200 pages every day with these said books. Each book, more or less, is around 500 pages. Already having doubts with both of these books. So I've seen this challenge floating around on YouTube being done before by a lot of other bookish creators. And I thought to myself, this is sort of like a step up from the 24-hour reading challenge. 200 pages a day seems a lot more than just reading for 24 hours. All right, and with that being said, let our 200 pages a day for a week commence. Hello, everyone. So I have finally started Fourth Wing, and I'm 15 pages in, and you know what? It's not that bad. I don't know what I was expecting. I think I was expecting the writing, the characters to be on par as like From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout. It has gone off with a bang, and we are in the trenches. Well, our main character is. Our main character is Violet. Her last name, ridiculous, by the way. I mean, the names in here, a little bit wonky, but that's to be expected. So immediately we are thrust into this tournament, this challenge known as Conscription Day. And this is essentially where a bunch of like first year students have to walk across a bridge or fall to their deaths in order to gain entrance into this school. Of course, we all know she's going to make it. Can you just imagine the book's just starting out, her falling to her death, just falling from the bridge, been like, oopsies. But anyways, we found out that she's the youngest daughter of the commander, the person in charge. She has an older sister, of course, who has basically passed all of her tests and already bonded with her dragon, as well as an older brother who is dead. So I just wanted to quickly update you guys on that. And I think I won't update you guys on every little thing. I plan on reading the 200-page mark first. Here we go. So I'm almost at the 200-page mark for Fourth Wing. And I gotta fucking say, y'all, I'm in love. What the fuck? First of all, backtrack a little bit. I'm like less than halfway, or pretty much halfway through the book now. This is actually really good. I was not expecting the very first day to even be enamored with this book as is. Like, it took me literally less than 30 pages to get hooked. Literally, what is even happening right now? I think what it does so well for me compared to the other fantasy adult romance books that I've read, it's just so much more enjoyable. Like, the things that have happened or have transpired, I feel like make so much more sense in terms of the characters' actions and choices that they have made, and also the direction that they're going in, and also with the dialogue. It's just so much better. I guess at the end of the day, maybe just better written, better crafted in terms of story and characters than the other adult fantasy romance books that I've read. Like From Blood and Ash could never. That book is like right here. Fourth Wing, halfway, right here. I know that ACOTAR sort of set like this threshold for fantasy romance, right? I'm really enjoying it so far. It's like candy. My brain is off, essentially, when I'm reading this, okay? First of all, was my brain also off for the other books that I read? Yes, and it stayed off. However, this one is doing something to me here. And I don't want to say it, but I get the hype. I do. I have also read the 1-star reviews, the people who have really hated this one, and I gotta say, extremely valid. But hey, on the other hand, I am living, thriving that I'm enjoying this book as much as I am right now, because I was really expecting the worst. Like, my expectations for this book, maybe that's what helped me, that saved me. You know, it was like this low. Like, I had no expectations. I was like, God, I'm gonna fucking hate this book and I'm gonna return it to Target. No, I'm not gonna return it unless beyond the halfway point. This book like does a 180 for me. We have our 3 central main characters. We have Dwayne. Fucking hate him. He's so annoying. He's literally the worst friend that Violet could ever have. Anyways, we have Violence, as she is called by, you guessed it, Xander, our love interest. I mean, is this book very tropey, cliche, and does not offer anything new? Check, all of the above. However, I think it does something really fun with the genre in of itself. I think what this book does well and better than the other romance fantasy books that I've read, at the end of the day, it's just better written. Like, you can't tell me that from Blood and Ash, the characters and the plot is better than half of what I've read from Fourth Wing. I think that the people who really enjoy reading ACOTAR and wanting something that is very similar in terms of like writing and characters, I think will find a closer resemblance in that of Fourth Wing. more than the other fantasy books that I've read. I mean, granted, I haven't read like a whole ton or a whole lot. So far, Fourth Wing for me takes the cake. Like, I'm really, really enjoying it. I mean, the whole point of this challenge was for me to continue reading and just to read more in general. But I mean, hey, whatever works, right? But so far, what has happened? She and Dwayne finally kissed. I know his name is Dane, so you don't have to correct me in the comments. But he is such a lame character. Not saying that anyone named Dwayne is lame or anything, but you know what? It just fits him in this context. He is just so fucking lame, okay? He reminds me of Tamlin from A Court of Thorns and Roses. You can't tell me otherwise. You already know. That's not even a spoiler. From the get-go, you already know who your love interest is, right? What I think is the strongest point, I think I can speak for everyone, are the dragons. The bond in the relationship between the rider and the dragon is just so interesting to me. We have already a main character traversing through the challenges, the competition of the school in order to bond with her dragon. Is this giving How to Train Your Dragon vibes? I guess you can say yes, but the yes is so minuscule, like the least amount possible. But just the little banter that we have so far between the dragons, it was very interesting. I'm praying, truly hoping that it'll carry on for the next half of the book. I don't really know what to expect at this point. I guess that's all I have to say for now. So, guess what? It's the exact same day, and I fucking finished. I finished Fourth Wing. You guys, excuse me. Excuse me. That fucking ending, the last page. I literally just finished it just now, and I just ran to the kitchen, turned on the camera, because what the fuck? I have not been that surprised in a good long while. I am shook. I am shook at how much I loved it. The ending, I'm still reeling everything after everything that has happened. And this challenge, it's pretty much over. Literally over. 200 pages a day for a week. Try 500 pages a day for a week. I mean, that's not going to happen, but it literally, I finished it. Finished. And it took the entire day. But what the fuck? I have no words. Like, okay, for anyone who is still on the fence about reading this book, I think if you like A Court of Thorns and Roses, and if you like books that are very similar to that, like if you like books like From Blood and Ash, Serpent and the Wings of Night, just like fantasy romance in general in that genre, I think you will love this book. If you don't read a lot of fantasy, or if you're not into the fantasy romance genre, you're not gonna like it at all. If you like fantasy, but you don't like romance, like you're only into sort of like the J.R. Tolkien, Robin Hobb, Brandon Sanderson type of vibe, I don't think you'll like this as well, because the romance is front and center. The fantasy is great. Don't get me wrong though, it's up to you, your opinion, your choice. However, I do think that this specific genre does cater to a bunch of people, just not specific people who might not like fantasy romance in general. Like if you've never read fantasy romance or you're not really into it, trust me, I think you're best to stay away. Otherwise, you will fucking hate it. Unless, of course, you want to hate read it. Then be my guest. But hey, I loved it. I had a good time, damn good time. It was like popcorn on crack. It was insane. Like this entire book, laced. I'm telling you, laced with crack. It was so addicting. I could not stop. My mind is still reeling. I don't even want to read anything else at the moment. Like, since I read 200 pages in a day, I literally could take a day off. I literally cannot believe the sequel that we're gonna get is literally out in like a couple months, a month and a half. This book got released this year. I don't think the publishers expected this book to be as big or popular as it is. This one, 5 stars, baby. 5 out of fucking 5 stars. It was so much fun. Really enjoyed it. Loved the relationships with the dragons. I think that was like overall the best part for me. And yeah, it did follow a certain formula. It was very tropey, extremely cliched, and pretty much with 2-dimensional characters. You know, I'm not reading in that mindset to analyze or criticize every single aspect this book has to offer, because this is not that type of book. This is just a fun sort of escapism, and it fucking works. Like, I literally cannot believe how much I enjoyed it and gave it 5 stars. That is the biggest plot twist I've ever seen. Like, I was going in here readily hating it. Like, I was just ready to be like, God, I'm gonna DNF this shit. I don't know if I can pull through. It did more than pull me through. It pulled me all the way in, sucked me out, and left me dry. Oh, right. Spoilers. So I want to talk about a little bit spoilers right here. So you can skip to this time frame right here. How the fuck is her brother alive? Like, you know, I myself saw some things coming in this book, right? How she would be bonded with the biggest, strongest dragon ever. But 2 dragons? Did not see that one coming. Especially her relationship with the golden one. Oh, so cute. But what the fuck? Her brother is alive. That really shocked me. I did not expect that. That was a really big plot twist. Also, Xander working for the enemy side was not the biggest shock, but it still got me. This book had so many different twists and turns, and the people that I thought would survive, died. Obviously, I'm talking about Xander's friend and Violet's bodyguard. I just cannot believe the ending. Like, I'm really excited to see how that all plays out within the next book. The sequel to Fourth Wing, what is it called? Iron Flame? Oh, you can fucking bet. You can bet I will snatch that shit up. This whole reading experience overall really brings that nostalgic feeling, this factor of excitement and fun that I haven't had in a really long time. It sort of reminded me and brought me back to the days where I read a lot of YA, specifically YA fantasy. So I am very excited to see where the sequel will pick off next. A lot of shit went down. A lot of things happened. If you had read the first 3 chapters and the last 3 chapters of this book, drastically different. But if you had read maybe the first chapter from Blood and Ash and the last chapter from that book, you would pretty much get everything, the whole story in those 2 chapters in of itself. But with this one, you would have to read the entire book in order to get from point A to point B. Also, her ability to wield lightning, chef's kiss. Couple nitpicks though. First of all, Dwayne. Dwayne is so fucking annoying. He is literally the worst. The moment I saw him on page, I was like, bro, you're never gonna have a chance. You're not gonna stand a chance. Okay? Especially when Xander appeared. I don't really know what the conflict is outside of everything that's going on. Meaning, I can't exactly 100% pinpoint on what they're fighting for and why they had to connect with all these dragons in the first place. So I'm hoping that will be sort of expanded upon in book 2. Also, every single time Xander calls Violet violence, it still had its moments. The good moments were good, but the bad ones were also pretty bad. Violence, shut the fuck up, please. Gotta give it to them though. It's a lot better than Princess. I think Serpent and Wings of Night and From Blood and Ash both call the lead character Princess as their nickname, and I just could not. It was still eye rolling every single time he was like, violence and violence this and violence that. And I was like, stop. Pet names in general when it comes to fantasy, big no-no. Speaking of the romance between the 2 characters, I thought they were sensible as fuck when it came to this particular genre in general. Usually when it comes to the relationships in fantasy romance, you typically have the girl who is always staying away from the rivalry, the lead hot guy, and refusing and just not acknowledging that she should be with him. However, in this case, it was really funny how Violet was like, fuck, he's really hot. Like, damn, I really want him. Like, God, he's so hot. And I thought it was so funny. Sort of like a contradicting thing when it comes to this genre where the female lead is super into the guy, pretty much love at first sight, but it was more like fuck at first sight. It was on sight for Xander. I mean, he felt the same way as well, but I thought it was so funny. And also I thought it was sort of refreshing to see how they would talk about their relationship as well. Hey, if we're gonna, keep having sex and bone and fuck, I'm gonna fall in love with you. She says this out loud to him, and he's like,
I don't think I'm ready for a relationship like that.
I was like, wow, where was this conversation in the other fantasy romance books? It was just so refreshing that we didn't have to read pages and pages of just dialogue and just miscommunication and back and forth. But no, they sort of skipped it, went straight to the point. She's like, hey, I'm gonna fall in love with you if we keep fucking. Because they sort of had a semblance of a healthy communicationship, conversing back and forth. I did what I normally would never do when it comes to this specific genre in general. I read every single hot and sexy, spicy, smutty scene. I didn't skip any of it, just for the sake that the characters had a healthy conversation regarding their feelings. And I was like, fuck yeah, you know what? I'll do it. Just for you guys. Reading a straight, spicy, heteronormative relationship, it was not that bad in my opinion. Not the worst thing I've ever read. So kudos to that. At the end of the day, I thought the whole book would be cringy, especially with the scenes with the dragons. I mean, it kind of was. There were some cringy scenes, but overall, I thought it was just so much fun. It was just overall really interesting with the mythology, the lore, the magical aspects, the bond between the rider and the dragon, and the powers that they gain from it. But man, it just goes without saying that life is short and you just enjoy. You enjoy that book. Okay? You enjoy From Blood and Ash if you want to, or Serpent and Wings of Night. Don't let anybody else tell you otherwise, because I've seen the 1-star reviews, and while they are valid, I'm just giving my 5 out of 5 stars based on pure entertainment. I honestly cannot remember a book I have read that was this much fun. First day, I gotta say, was a fucking success. I started super early in the morning, okay? And just plow the way through after page 200. Done. I did start a little bit of A Taste of Golden Iron already, and that's pretty much all I have for this update. Hello everyone, I have officially started A Taste of Gold and Iron, and I gotta say, it is a completely different book to Fourth Wing. It is just a 180 switch. I am aware this is a completely different book, but the differences in just craftsmanship, writing, story, characters. Oh my god, it's just so different going from Fourth Wing into this. But so far, I'm really liking it. It's very, very slow paced compared to just the very fast action paced tone of Fourth Wing. I feel like a lot of people might not enjoy this book. Also reading this book, by the way, with my patrons over at my Patreon, and quite a few of them have DNF'd or stopped reading this book altogether. Alexandra has taken time really setting up these characters. I feel like for the most part, this is the book where there's not going to be a lot of plot. We're just all here caring about the characters and just here for the vibes. A lot of my favorite books tend to thrive in this direction, like The Starless Sea, The Raven Cycle, just books that prioritize characters over plot. I mean, there is a semblance of plot, don't get me wrong, but I feel like for the most part, nothing has happened so far in this book. Magic seems to be pretty much non existent, aside from the fact that the prince has this ability to tell if a piece of metal that he is holding or touching is pure or not. Like gold, for an instance. If he touches it, he can tell how much gold is in that piece of metal or whatever that he's holding. So that's really interesting. I'm hoping that it'll be expanded upon a little bit more. But so far, there was this sort of miscommunication happening here because one of his friends, his ex-lover, thought he was going to be attacked. It was a huge bad case of miscommunication because people died, soldiers that he was supposed to be entrusted in his care. And so he's not exactly banished, but he has been sort of exiled to this portion of the palace. And he has, you guessed it, our main bodyguard to look after him. But the main bodyguard, whose name is Evermere, is sort of cold to him with everything that conspired because the soldiers who died in this miscommunication accident were sort of people he knew. So the prince's name, his name is Kadao, and the bodyguard, his name is Evamir. And so far, they're off to a rocky start. But I can already feel it. The tension is already there. Sparks, they're flying. They're igniting somewhere. But something tells me that their relationship will be almost as quiet and subdued as the rest of the book. What really helped, though, was listening to the audiobook like 50 pages in, because I, for the life of me, didn't even know how to pronounce half of the names in this book, half of the names of the characters. World building, I gotta say, it's interesting. Very intricate, but not very heavily expanded upon. There's no world map on here, so it's a little confusing as to just envision where everything is. You just have to go with it. It's basically a book based on vibes. Dinner is served. You guys, these are mini wontons, and I literally swear by this. Get them at Costco. Get them at Costco, the big bag. It's super cheap, it's like $10. I'm also watching this new K-drama called See You in My 19th Life on Netflix. And yes, I am watching it on 1.5 speed. It's about this young woman who still remembers her past life, and she's on her 19th life at the moment. Hello. So, quick update. I'm on now page 247, and you guys, they just kissed for the very first fucking time. It took 200, literally almost 250 pages. 250 pages. Like, this book, I'm really, really liking it so far. However, it needs to pick up a little bit. Just a tiny little bit. Like, at least with the other books, I had characters I really, really loved, or the writing that just, sort of balanced the scales in that aspect. For this one, though, while I do really like the characters, I don't fully love them. The writing here, it's very rich, very lush. However, it does feel at times like, I don't want to say it in like a bad negative connotation or way, like a history textbook, because surprisingly, this is almost like a historical fantasy with lots of Middle Eastern influences. I'm still loving it, as is, hoping that it'll pick up. I mean, because by now, pretty much more than halfway through this book, and I also gotta finish this in time for the live show that I'll be having with my patrons. Really hoping to get at least another maybe 50 to 100 pages in before I call it a night, but oh my god, they finally kissed for the first time, and it was great. It wasn't passionate, it was very subdued. Basically, this is what it feels like for me so far. The entire book for me feels very subtle and subdued and quiet. I just realized that my mic was wrapped around the camera lens, and I didn't even realize it because I was too excited to talk to you guys, saying how I haven't read a very subdued fantasy with just such low stakes in general. But either way, in this case, I'm hoping this book will pick up just a little bit, explore some magical abilities that we have here, but the relationship between the prince and the bodyguard is so cute, so refreshing. Other than that, I literally can't tell you much about it because nothing has happened. It's very chill, if you will. Hello, it is super late into the night at the moment. I don't know what it is with these past two books, but I have pretty much continuously kept on reading. Even though it's supposed to be 200 pages a day, I've been plowing on. So that means if I do skip a day, so that means if I happen to skip a day or something happens, those pages can essentially carry over and count in this challenge. Pretty much nothing has happened since the last time I updated you because this book is pretty much all vibes. I think if this does not pick up in the last 75 pages or so, it might be a 3-star read, which, hey, by the way, 3 stars is not bad. It just means it was good, not great. Which to me, though, is a little disappointing considering how highly this was on my TBR. Yeah, there isn't a whole lot I can tell you aside from the fact that one of the main ex-lovers, who I thought would be a pain in the ass, actually turned like a 380, turned a 180 in character development. Like, he had pretty much the most character development of all. This is a secondary character, but this is Kadau's ex-lover, and his name is Tadek. From a character who kind of accidentally caused the death of a bunch of people to now one of the best characters in this book, I gotta say is an understatement. Aside from that, that is pretty much all I have to say regarding this book. Hello everyone, how's it going? So just a quick update. It's been a few days since. Gotta share some updates with you guys. First of all, got a new haircut, permed for the first time in, I believe, like this year, actually, because I shaved all of it off when I went to Vietnam and bleached it, and I grew it out. New year, new me, essentially, even though it's 10 months into the year. But anyways, I started a new book, and I'll insert the cover here. This one is called The Will of the Many by James Islington, and so far, I'm really, really liking it. It's a different type of fantasy read than other books in this genre. Particularly for me, when it always came to the word fantasy, I always thought it had to do a lot with like magic, a fantasy setting, but that's not always the case. In this world, there is some semblance of magic, but it's not at the forefront. We are following this one central character named This. He's this 17-year-old boy who has gone through a lot of shit, apparently, through his past. He wants to get his revenge for the death of his family on the sort of hierarchical group that is basically controlling the bigger part of the empire, essentially. And in this world, people can cede or give away part of their will. And so the higher and more powerful you are, the more will you can exceed or take from people. It can range anywhere from like healing yourself, strengthening your body to the point where you're basically unbeatable, impenetrable, faster, stronger. They've even used will. I'm not 100% exactly sure how they're doing this or the logistics and the definition of it exactly. I don't really know the groundwork here, but in one point of the book, they created this contraption where it works like an elevator. They can essentially travel long distances via elevator and airplane, except it's not like a plane. It's just like a box that traverses through the sky, like via anchor points. That is just all working through the sheer force of will. Yeah, and our main character essentially finds himself in the midst and in the middle of political schemes of different parties who want to use will to their own advantage, who wants to break the system but have to use will to do it. Everything involves will, essentially, right? Hence the will of the many. However, Vis, our main character, wants none of that. He wants nothing to do with any of these people. He wants to find his own revenge without the use of will in general by infiltrating as one of the son of a really prestigious family to enter into this wealthy elite academy. And in this academy, he has to sort of rank up to the highest class in order to graduate to get an esteemed position in this empire so he can tackle it and take it and eliminate it on the inside. So it sounds like a lot because it is. It's a 600-page book. However, I'm flying really quickly through this just because I am reading this on the Kindle. But anyways, that's where I'm at. And even though I haven't strictly read every single day, maybe for like the past 2 or 3 days, I still want to point out the 2 books I just read, A Taste of Golden Iron and what was the other book that I read? And Fourth Wing were both around 500 pages. So that made up for it, okay? Didn't cheat. But yeah, I gotta say though, I think what this challenge proved to me is that you can definitely read over 200 pages or even finish a book in a day if you're really, really into it. And it's been a while since I actually thoroughly enjoyed a book as I did while reading Fourth Wing. Please let me know down in the comments below if you had read Fourth Wing, A Taste of Golden Iron, or Will of the Many. Well, that has been a success of a challenge if I do say myself, albeit a rather short one. Also, just a gentle PSA if you're looking for extra, more exclusive content from me, as well as reading sprints, a monthly book club, and a monthly movie watch along, you can check out my Patreon, which is listed down below. And just a quick shout out thank you to all the Final Girl patrons. Alright, you guys, that is pretty much it. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all soon with a new video.